When Paul writes his second letter to Thessalonica, he is again noting their growth that has been reported to him by messengers who have visited that city. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Friday. You know, he has already told them how they have been examples far and wide of their faith, and they've spread the gospel in every place where Paul visits to preach the word. He tells them that in 1 Thessalonians. Now, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 3, Paul says, "We are bound to thank God always for you, brethren, as it is fitting, because your faith grows exceedingly, and the love of every one of you all abounds toward each other, so that we ourselves boast of you among the churches of God for your patience and your faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that you endure." In Paul's regular prayer life, I'm sure there are problem congregations, maybe even problem members that pop up to his mind and maybe consume a lot of his prayers and his concerns. So it is especially nice to notice that there is a congregation here that you're able to thank God for, with good reports of their growth and their service that he is hearing from others. First, he is thankful that their faith grows exceedingly. So how does he know that? You know, there is no magical yardstick for measuring one's faith or a scale that you could put it on. Apparently, there has been some mighty work done in that city by the believers that had shown their growth in faith, perhaps even numerical growth of believers in the congregation there. With the tribulations they had encountered in the beginning, perhaps their growth has been seen in the way that they stood up to the authorities and their persecutors. Paul also commends them on their love toward each other and how it abounds. Again, love is not easily measured in a person's heart, but it can be seen in outward ways when they show their love in intangible ways to each other. You know, in the early church, in the early part of the book of Acts, there is an account of how Barnabas has actually sold much of his possessions and decided to distribute it among those who needed it within the church. Perhaps this was a practice they had done in Thessalonica for their brethren in order to show their love for one another. We know the mob at one point had taken some securities, they called them, from Jason, who was a member of the church. Perhaps the church body was restoring some of his possessions that he had lost to persecution. But Paul tells the church, "We have been boasting about you among other churches because of your patience and your faith in all your persecution and tribulations that you endured." Patience, of course, means perseverance. Faith is just showing the fact that they're serving the Lord. You know, it often makes me think, how do we show a growth in faith or even in love in our own lives or in our churches, so that others will see this in our testimony in the world? Or how well do we endure persecutions, and how well do we keep a good witness in the midst of tribulations in this world? If the Apostle Paul were to write a letter to us today, would he be telling us how he's praying for us? Or would he be thankful for the good reports that he's been hearing?